Hello everyone, welcome. If you are interested in manifesting with the moon, if you're interested in how the moon may be affecting your emotions, if you're interested in how the moon may be influencing your thinking patterns, your energy levels, then you may find this video really, really helpful. In just a moment, I'm going to run through the entire moon month. We are about to begin a new moon month. This is not the same as a calendar month. A moon month begins with a new moon. And on the 16th of May, we have a super new moon in Taurus. And I'm recording this on, I think it's the 12th of May, just to give you a few days of to kind of look at this and get the heads up of the incoming energy. To be honest, you can touch base with this video at any time during the moon month. If you feel that you are feeling particularly emotional or you're having a bit of a wobble, come back, bookmark the page, come back, touch base with the energy and see how that is aligning with you. Because I'm going to be looking at the flow of energy, the influence of the moon through the entire month, all the different moon phases. I'm going to be looking at the void of course moons as well, because we have an unprecedented number of huge void of course moon periods, and these can leave us feeling a little bit out at sea or completely liberated. It kind of depends what's going on in the context of our own unique circumstances. Now, if you're not sure what a void of course moon period is, I have created a completely free webinar. I'll put the link below. You can touch base with that and learn about the fundamental elements of manifesting with the moon, of aligning with the moon and living with the incoming energy in a way that means that you're using that energy consciously. So let's dive straight in. Now, before we start our moon month energy update, a quick reminder that in 2 days' time, we are having a live collective reading experience. This is where you bring your cards, I bring mine. We begin by entering a meditation. We align with the energy of the new moon, which in this case is the super new moon in Taurus. I then read for the collective and you draw your own cards to acquire and receive a reading and a message for yourself about the coming month. It's a phenomenal event. I have loved connecting with you guys. Thank you so much, all of you who've been able to come to previous ones. We've been doing this for several months now. It really is amazing. The energy is incredible. So thank you all. And so, and if you're new to the channel, do join us. And if for some reason you do miss it, it is recorded and you can tune into it afterwards. Now let us dive straight into what we're going to be doing today. We've got moon phases and void of course moon dates. Each of the moon phases has a very distinct kind of flavour or flow of energy. So one of the reasons that I look at the moon phases throughout the moon month is that it helps us to understand kind of what's happening. Our emotions going to be building? Is the moon going to help to soften our feelings? Are we likely to sort of get into a thinking pattern where we could escalate things, blow things out of proportion? Or are we going to be feeling more leveled out or steady? Each of the moon phases brings a different flavour, and the more we understand these, along with the void of course moon dates, the more we can use the energy in a way that is really valuable for us. So let's just tune in with the super new moon energy of Taurus. I always think with Taurus energy, think about manifesting in real terms, especially in your immediate world, your home, your possessions, your money, your finances, and your health. This is a fantastic new moon to set wishes and intentions around any of these areas. I really want to ask you to consider being very conscious of your thoughts, your words, and your deeds and your actions on this day. Now, a new moon is a time when the moon and the sun come together. It's like a sacred marriage between the divine masculine and the divine feminine. So when they come together, the point that they come together is it's like a moment of conception. So the energy is really primed to support us in sowing new seeds, putting something out there into the universe, putting a request into the universe. If you write your new moon wishes, you write your new moon intentions, and then you give it your sort of full focus for, 10 minutes, half an hour, whatever you're going to do. And then you move on into your world, but you're then heavily thinking about the things that you're worried about, or the things you're concerned about, or the things you're frustrated about. you're still putting energy into the universe. You're still putting energy into this space of conception. So be very, very conscious of your thoughts, your words, your deeds and actions. Not only bring your focus in to the things that you want to wish for and the intentions you wish to commit to, but really, really try to be very conscious of the essence and energy of your thoughts, your words, your deeds, your actions, and align yourself with what you have focused on. Return to it. Leave post-its around. Sit with the energy for longer. Touch base with your wishes and intentions once you've written them. Return to them. Realign with them, because this is very key to manifesting in real terms. And the super new moon is primed to assist this. And because it's a Taurus energy, I think our wishes and intentions can find an anchor point quite easily within this energetic. And so we really want to use this in a positive, conscious way so that we're manifesting what we want and not what we don't want. Also think about the energy of Taurus. It's slow, it's steady, it's methodical. Taurus energy prefers to sort of do it's steady progress rather than rushing into change. So consider this, obviously, if we've got stuff going on in our lives that is feeling really frustrating, we can sometimes tune into the lower vibrational energy of Taurus, which can feel like a bull in a Taurus shop, a bull in a china shop, where we're just feeling like the world isn't working for us. Again, we don't want to be putting frustration and difficulty into the energy of the day. What we want to put into the energy of the day is very, very conscious, leveled out, grounded awareness of the things that we wish to manifest, the things that we wish to have in the immediacy of our own lives. Now, I've noted a void of course moon here, which is pretty fleeting. It's 1 hour, 22 minutes. I think what I'll do is let's move on to the timings, and then I'll come back to the voids as well. So these are a list of timings. Now, the reason I put these on the screen is because this is the point of conception. It's 20:20 in the evening, UTC, GMT time. We're now here in the UK where I live. We're in British summertime. So it's in fact 21:20. This is the point of conception, and we're ideally wanting to put our wishes and intentions into the world sort of almost at this exact time or for the 8 hours afterwards. This is the prime time to lean into fertility. So it's really worth knowing where, depending on where you are on our beautiful planet, the exact time in your location, so you can sort of prime yourself to align with the energy. Now, I am working on, or I say I am working on, somebody is working on my behalf, a huge website for me where you are going to be able to access all of these timings, all of this information. Literally, you can tune in. If you go on holiday, you should be able to press a button and all the moon times will shift to your location. It's a big task, but I'm hoping to really get this up and running for you within the next few months so that you can access all of these moon times literally at the press of a button using your phone and align yourself with the exact point of timing in whatever location you're in. Now let's just return for a moment to these voids, because there's something really interesting happening here that I want to bring your attention to, actually. So we have the super new moon on the 16th in Taurus. On the 17th, we have a fleeting void of course pocket when Taurus moves into Gemini. So the kind of energy is moving from, I guess, steady energy, ideally. That's the high vibrational, conscious thinking about what we want, making those wishes, making those intentions, into a space of curiosity as we shift and move into Gemini. Curiosity, discovery. But on the very same day, on the 17th, we move into another void of course period. And this is 30 hours, 11 minutes long. So it's huge. And this is where the moon moves from Gemini into Cancer. So the energy, the flow of energy is moving from that sort of thinking energy, the communicating energy of Gemini, to a much more softening energy, to feeling, to intuition, to nurture. But this is a very big void of course pocket. And it means that the energy of Gemini as the moon moves into Gemini, so moving from the new moon into the waxing crescent moon, it means that the energy in Gemini is going to be quite fleeting and quite intense. Now, the lower vibration of Gemini can be quite sort of a lack of focus or quite nervous energy. When our mind can run away with you could lose focus, you could feel a little bit unanchored. Now, a void of course energy can leave us feeling very liberated because there's no kind of boundaries around the lunar energy. So we can feel very liberated, but we can also feel very out at sea. So be conscious of your thinking. It takes me back to what I was just saying about the super new moon. If you really anchor your wishes and your intentions while we're in the new moon energy around Taurus, you're very anchored, you're also very grounded. There's an opportunity to get really, really grounded. And I think that's going to pay dividends when we move into this sort of big shift from Taurus into Gemini, but then into this huge void of course period before the moon then moves into Cancer. Because by this time we're moving into the crescent, the waxing crescent moon, so the energy's starting to pick up and get going. I just feel that sort of the liberatedness of the void could leave us feeling unanchored. It could leave us feeling a bit scattered in our thoughts. You might find psychologically that you're struggling to hold your focus or that things are a bit all over the place. It could even bring up some sort of, I don't know, it's great to see things from all sides of, from both sides of the coin, but you might find yourself feeling a bit of a duality in the way that you're feeling, or again, the way that you're thinking. You might see indecisiveness, have difficulty in kind of really working out which way to go if you've got to make a decision. So just be conscious of this, because Gemini energy is very thought orientated. So as we move from the new moon, and the moon moves from Taurus into Gemini, before she reaches Cancer, it is possible that you might find yourself feeling a bit scattered. Use the super new moon energy of Taurus to get really anchored and really grounded first, because in a way that's going to help to kind of hold you in position. Remember, the moon moves pretty quickly, so this is, it's not like this is going on for weeks and weeks, but here it is, 30 hours, 11 minutes long. That's a long time if you're feeling unanchored, if you're feeling a bit wobbly, depending on what's going on in your world. So, the positive of this, the high vibration, is that you could find yourself flooded with ideas. You could find that literally you're getting moments of brilliance that are coming through. However, you might get so many that you don't quite know which one to follow. So just be conscious of how you use this energy. It's highly likely to affect your thinking patterns. So let's tune into the energy of the waxing crescent moon phase. Now, this is going to be from May the 17th through to May the 22nd. Now, the waxing crescent moon energy means that the energy is basically getting going. You've left the Taurus supermoon left an imprint. And remember, this can be really used as an anchor point through the big void of course moon that then comes following this on the 17th. But Taurus energy prefers steady growth rather than rapid expansion. However, a waxing crescent moon energy is about getting going, so you could feel a little bit of a push and a pull. But think about the flow through Gemini, Cancer, and then into Leo. If you have sown your seeds at the Taurus new moon, you can then allow yourself to think and let your imagination have a free rein without rushing ahead. When the moon then moves into Cancer, you can start to sort of nurture those ideas into being. You can start to engage with the energy and see how best to move them forwards. What do you need to do to nurture? What do you need to support your ideas or your manifestations and bring them forth? With that clarity, you can then engage with the Leo energy when the moon moves into Leo and start to step forward and take actions with confidence. We've got these 3 void of course periods. We've already spoken about the first one, Gemini into Cancer, 30 hours, 11 minutes. On the 20th, when the moon moves from Cancer into Leo, we've got a 13-hour, 22-minute void of course period. So we're moving from that intuitive feeling energy to begin to feel that we can rise, we can express, we can move things forwards. And then at the end of this waxing crescent moon phase, as we move into the first quarter moon, the moon will move from Leo into Virgo. So we're then moving from that space of making things happen, creative thinking, expression, to being able to then refine our ideas or our manifestations, and to begin to bring focus to what it is that we need to do to be able to then move forwards more effectively. Now, this void of course moon happens to be 32 hours, 52 minutes long. So this is pretty epic. It's pretty huge. So this is what's leading into our first quarter moon position. So we're coming from Leo energy into Virgo. So there could be a lot of exuberance, a lot of joy, a lot of optimism, a lot of feeling like we can make things happen. Suddenly we move into Virgo. And the first quarter moon is a time when we are naturally invited to see what we need to see. It's almost like it's not exactly a hurdle, but we can see what we need to see. It's like circumstances show up to help us to evaluate so that we can then move forwards with ease. But sometimes it means that there will be things that we need to attend to. We may need to course correct. We may need to tweak some things. We may even need to shift some of our perspectives. Now, Virgo is perfect for this energy because we can be aware of the details. We can be diligent. However, the lower vibrational energy of Virgo is, I did some of my Virgo friends, they have huge inner critics. They are really, really, really almost like they're almost mean to themselves. I've had to say to a few of my Virgo friends, hang on a minute, would you actually say that to somebody else and yet you're saying it to yourself? So be very conscious, critique rather than critic. Critique is fine because critique helps us to finesse. Critique helps us to work out where we need to go next or how best to do something. Critical energy brings down our vibration. So the energy isn't about bringing us down, it's about review and evaluation. My thinking is it's going to be very interesting to see what happens because of this great big void, of course, pocket of 32 hours, 52 minutes leading into this. Because the void energy, as I've already said, and do check out that free webinar that teaches you all about this stuff. The void, of course, energy is quite unboundaried. It's liberated. Huge things can move forwards. We can see stuff move forwards in leaps and bounds during these big void of course pockets of time. But if we are feeling wobbly or a little bit anxious about something, it can feel as though everything is running away with us, or there are no boundaries, or everything is escalating and we don't know how to stop it, or we're not in control, we're not in charge. The mind can genuinely feel a little bit fragmented. So bearing in mind that's the kind of energy around, I think it will be very interesting for us each, depending on our unique circumstances, to be conscious of that void of course moon prior to entering that first quarter moon. So if things have suddenly felt as though they've gone a bit out of control, rather than viewing that as a negative, consciously try to look at your circumstances through the lens of, this is helpful information. This is arriving so that I can become aware of the details, course correct, tweak, in order to move forwards with ease. It's not these things aren't arriving as a negative to slow you down. They are arriving to help you to be on track in a way that is going to be most valuable for you. And this is the kind of higher vibration of these energies. So let's now look at the waxing gibbous moon phase. This is the moon phase that comes after the first quarter. So the moon is now getting bigger and bigger and moving towards her fullest. So the energy is gathering momentum. Now, a lot of people find in the waxing gibbous moon phase that their emotions tend to get bigger and bigger and bigger alongside the moon. So be conscious of this. Now, the moon is going to pass through Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, and into Sagittarius. The dates are May the 24th through to May the 30th. Now, with Virgo, think diligence and attention to detail. Remember, the energy is gathering momentum, so real progress can be made. But as the moon then moves into Libra, try to be very balanced. Do everything you do in a balanced way. If you start to get heavily involved in attending to things in your working world, for example, when the moon is passing through Virgo, bring yourself back into balance as the moon moves into Libra. Make sure you're taking time out and that your work-life balance is really, really healthy, because greater progress will be made if it is. So move forwards in a balanced way. When the moon then moves into Scorpio, it's possible that things may surface that you were previously unaware of, or you start to connect with your world at a greater depth. Now remember, the waxing gibbous moon phase is a time when emotions can run high. So it could be that this is a time when things surface that are quite emotionally charged. This kind of combination of energies is highly probable. Now, depth of emotion, highly emotional charge, doesn't mean it's negative, but it could be quite intense. The Scorpio energy is often quite intense. Now, the moon will then move into Sagittarius, where we can begin to actually to feel that things can expand. So think about the flow of that energy. As we move from Virgo into Libra, we have a 13-hour, 41-minute void of course period. So we're moving from that energy of refining to a place where we can feel balanced and in harmony. On the 27th, we have, and this is 27th through to the 28th, we have a 13-hour, 22-minute void of course period. This is when the moon is moving from Libra into Scorpio. So we're then moving from that balanced, harmonized place to a much greater depth, to awareness at, and there may even be some things that surface. Quite often when the moon moves through Scorpio, things come to the surface. Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, the lord of the underworld. And because the moon is getting bigger and bigger, emotions will be involved. So be conscious of this. When the moon then moves from Scorpio into Sagittarius, we're moving from depth into a place of expansion where we find meaning. Now, I think this is interesting with that void of course moon period from Scorpio into Sagittarius, because Sagittarius energy helps us to find meaning, to work out what really matters. Sometimes the way that we learn that things really matter is through very deep emotional experiences. 12 hours, 41 minutes, that's quite a long time in the scheme of things when we think of that void of course energy. So again, because these are so huge, I mean, sometimes a void of course moon is literally just minutes or a few hours. But because of the planetary alignments as they currently are, the voids are much, much bigger. And so, there's some very powerful energy that is worthy of noting. So it's one of the reasons I've particularly started to focus on the void of course moons. I think it's very, very helpful to be aware of these energies. So let's just move on and check in then with the full moon, because we're about to then move to the full moon in Sagittarius. Now, this full moon is a blue moon. Now, this means that we've had 2 full moons in one calendar month. And it's also what we call a micro moon, which is kind of the opposite of a supermoon. When we get a supermoon, it means that the moon is very close to the Earth and looks really, really huge. And in the way that she moves around the Earth, and when we have a micro moon, it means she's further away. It tends to condense the energy. So just bear in mind what we've been talking about, moving through that void of course period where the moon moved from Scorpio into Sagittarius. Maybe things come up, from the depths, as it were, that have an emotional content. Now, every full moon brings an opportunity for illumination, for release, and then progression. A Sagittarius moon, think of those Sagittarius qualities, it's going to honour truth and integrity. So this is a moon that's going to ask you to be very real in every way, especially with yourself. And because of the micro moon energy, things could be really quite intense, almost like there's a sort of a condensing of the energy. I feel that authenticity is going to win the day, whatever you do. This is about being real and really, really upfront. Honest with yourself. Whatever's shown up during that Scorpio pocket of time, when the moon was navigating through Scorpio, things being brought to the surface, they are arriving with purpose to give you greater awareness, greater depth of understanding, and therefore to develop greater meaning in your world. Whatever shows up, if things need to be released, this moon is going to help you to do so. However, when we release things, we're making space, so there's always room for the new to be illuminated as well. This is what full moons are about. I'll bring up the timings for you in a moment, actually. But let's just also acknowledge that we have another monumentally huge void of course period on the 31st, on the same day. So literally the moon moves from her fullest into this big void of course period, because this is running from the 31st of May right through to the 2nd of June. So this is going to be really interesting. It's 35 hours, 59 minutes long, and it's when the moon moves from Sagittarius into Capricorn. So the energy is moving from expansion into the essence of grounding and of structure. Now, a void of course moon running through Sagittarius could mean that we have boundless enthusiasm. It could mean that we sometimes even develop a sense of overconfidence. However, it could mean that things are expanding more quickly than we would like to. So I think it could literally sit on, there's almost like a double-edged sword with this. I think it could sit on both sides of the coin. We could feel like things are running away with us, that, things are escalating too quickly. Again, remember that the energy is going to shift when the moon moves into Capricorn. So if things feel like they're running away with you, you're going to be able to get an anchor point as soon as the moon moves into Capricorn. So really helpful to know. This will happen on the 2nd of June. Likewise, if your energy is loaded with optimism, boundless enthusiasm, then run with it. But remember that when the moon moves into Capricorn, you may need to do some anchoring. You may find that there are some practical things you need to attend to. You may have expanded really quickly, but you might need to come back and attend to some details as well. So very valuable to really contemplate almost like the reality of I do feel that's what we might get when the moon moves into Capricorn, almost a bit of a reality check. Again, in manifestation, this is helpful. This isn't coming to dampen your enthusiasm. It's coming to make it real. It's coming to help to anchor it in the 3D world, whatever expansive thoughts or experiences you've been having. Now, these are a selection of full moon timings. Why do we look at timings with the moon from our location? It's really helpful to know when that sort of turning point is coming. In the build-up to a full moon, emotions often run high. And this is the point when we sometimes get breakthrough moments. Or if you know that there's something you actually need to release and let go of, perhaps during the moon passing through Scorpio and the big void leading up to this full moon, things surface that you need to release, then the point of release it's really valuable. You can work with this. The point of release, if you want to do a release ceremony, would work incredibly well if you aligned it with the exact timing in your location. It's very often a time I find for myself, if I get really still, I can literally feel the shift. It's almost like I can sort of breathe out and then almost like start afresh, or turn over the page in a book. It's got that sort of energy about it. So we know that a full moon helps us to release things. It also helps us to know what to do next. It shows the way forward. And this is often the point at which this kind of shift happens. Again, if you're able to be aware of that shift and you're very still and present, if you can take a little bit of time, even if it's only 5 minutes to just get still, sometimes we can really receive phenomenal downloads in that moment that really illuminate the way forward, the next steps. So knowing the timings can be really helpful. So let's now look at the waning gibbous moon phase, because I actually do think there is a really lovely flow of energy if we're leaning into the higher vibration of this. Now, we've touched base already on the 35-hour, 59-minute void of course moon from the 31st of May through to the 2nd of June. Now, the waning gibbous moon phase in entirety runs from June the 1st through to June the 7th. The moon's going to pass through Sagittarius, into Capricorn, into Aquarius, and into Pisces. So think Sagittarian energy, opportunity, expansion, truth, hope, optimism. And now apply these qualities to Capricorn energy, practical planning. Then apply the energy to align with the higher values of Aquarius, because these are going to promote steady growth that's going to lead to heightened spiritual progression when the moon moves into Pisces. Why steady growth? Because when the moon reaches her waning gibbous moon point, it's a bit like if you think of an aeroplane taking off. So at the new moon, right at the beginning of the moon month, the energy is about getting started, getting onto the runway. I always feel when the moon reaches her fullest, we've reached the high altitude. We've reached the altitude that we want to be at. The waning gibbous moon phase is the time when you ease the throttle off the engines. You kind of hear it if you're in an aeroplane. You've reached where you need to be. You don't need to go any higher. Now you can ease back the throttle, but the energy can continue in a steady kind of way. It's as though the aeroplane has gathered enough momentum to be on track. Now, we've talked a bit about the Sagittarian energy into Capricorn. We're moving from expansion to a point where we're grounding. We're needing to structure things. So it may be that some really steady restructuring, reorientating, really steady grounding progress can be made. Almost like some containment, I think, when the energy of the moon is in Capricorn, some containment to what has been potentially sort of quite expansive but unbounded. So I think the Capricorn energy could be really helpful. When the moon then moves from Capricorn into Aquarius, we have a 10-hour, 42-minute void. So we're moving them from structure to releasing, to holding new perspectives, holding higher perspectives. So again, really, really valuable flow of energy in our manifestations. You know, we've got big ideas, we've got expansive energy in Sagittarius, then we've got some pragmatic planning, then we can really align with the essence and energy of higher purpose, actually, when the moon's in Aquarius. And then, as the moon then moves into Pisces, I think we can move into a more intuitive space. Now we've got another huge void of course period again when the moon moves from Aquarius into Pisces. This is 28 hours, 52 minutes. You can see why I'm really focusing on the voids this month. There are so many and they are huge. As the moon moves into Pisces, I think we can move into a space of intuition. Piscean energy can also help to dissolve things that aren't necessary. So if anything showed up at the full moon that is still kind of a little bit clingy, it's not quite been released properly, I think by the time the moon moves into Pisces, there'll be opportunity to release. And actually the last quarter moon is also going to help to do this. In fact, I would say that this last quarter moon, the energy and essence is absolutely perfect for internal review and internal evaluation. And ultimately, manifestation does come from the inside out. You know, if your energy is in alignment with higher values, if your energy is really buzzing, if your energy is in a good place, a high vibrational place, if you are really leaning into constant gratitude and bliss and joy and stillness, regardless of what's going on, you're managing to keep your energy sort of intact and in a high vibrational place, your manifestations are going to be moving forwards really well. Now, because of the essence, the spiritual element of Pisces, this moon is really primed to support your alignment with your calling and your purpose in every way. You know, and I kind of would ask you actually to consider the meaning and the layers of purpose and to look to seek answers within. Now, what I mean by that is I think our purpose at any given time is multi-layered. You know, sometimes the life lessons that are coming into us, you know, there is one layer of purpose which is about processing those life lessons, helping to clear the way for, you know, or step into new growth so that we can proceed with a different level of purpose, which might be something that's quite actually practical or pragmatic in our lives. I always think purpose is multi-layered. There are many lessons taking place. There are many aspects of purpose at any given time. This is a really good time, this day, the last quarter moon in Pisces on June the 8th, to really connect with these kinds of areas within yourself. If any of you have an opportunity to take time on this day to really lean into some significant pockets of meditation, I suspect you may find some really, really big answers, solutions, perspectives that will help you to know how to move forwards. Now, following this quarter moon, the moon will move into a 7-hour, 55-minute void of course moon period between Pisces and Aries. So the shift in energy is moving from that sort of dream time energy to then igniting something and taking action. So if we think about using that beautiful Piscean energy to really get still, to internally review, to internally evaluate, to align with purpose, to seek the answers that we need, but from within, not looking to the external world to give us what we need, but to find those answers within. When the moon then moves into Aries, we're going to be ready. We're going to be ready to ignite and to get going. So let's check out the energy and flow during the waning crescent moon time. So this is running from June the 9th to June the 14th. The moon will pass through Aries, Taurus, and into Gemini. Now, think manifesting from the inside out. Think personal responsibility. Aries is about I am, owning your own sovereignty. But because we've come from that beautiful Piscean last quarter moon position, getting on track through personal awareness, tentatively applying that awareness in really practical ways as we move into Taurus. And then, depending on how things are flowing, giving yourself space to respond with inquiry and an attitude of discovery as the moon moves into Gemini. There's a lovely flow of energy. It's also quite gentle. The waning crescent moon time is the final moon phase before we get to the next new moon and a new moon month. And the energy is softer, it's not fast forward. At the same time, the signs that the moon is moving through are generating a forward motion of energy. Hence the think manifesting from the inside out. The energy is really primed for responsive action, for manifesting through the art of allowing, where you let things happen and you respond with curiosity, with inquiry, but you are still prepared to take action if needed, as and when needed. That there's a real sense of really owning your own sovereignty here. Being able to use everything you've learned through the month to be able to move forwards, but in a kind of a gentle way that consolidates where you are. Now, on the 9th, as I mentioned earlier, we've got a void of course moon, 7 hours, 55 minutes, when the moon moves from Pisces into Aries. This is where we're shifting from the dream time to actually kind of igniting something, to taking action, to taking some form of self-responsibility for whatever is needed. When the moon moves from Aries into Taurus, we have a 4-hour, 6-minute void. This is where we're shifting from action to being grounded, to being steady. So if you've initiated something, you can really anchor yourself at this point, especially with the softening energy of the waning crescent moon phase. On the 13th, we have a 5-hour 36 void, where the moon is moving from Taurus into Gemini. So we're moving from grounding to greater movement, to communication. So I think this is a really interesting time, because on the one hand, the energy is soft, it's very present, it's very reflective actually. On the other hand, you have got this interesting sort of shift from the dream time to taking action, to grounding things, and then communicating openly and easily in order to really evaluate where you are, in anticipation, of course, of setting your new moon wishes with the next new moon. But I think it's an interesting time, and post in the comments as you navigate through the month, because I'd be very interested to see how you are navigating these times and how you are experiencing the void of course periods, because what we are getting at the moment are an unprecedented number of void of course moons, and they are really, really long. So this is very unusual. It really, really is. I've been studying the moon for years and years and years, and we used to get 5-6 hour voids, and I'd think, oh, that's big. But this is just huge. So really, really worth observing, noticing, and using the energy either to either just simply to help you be aware of what's going on if things are happening very fast in your world, but also to move things forwards, to let go of things if the moon phases and the energy is supporting that as well. We then actually do begin a new moon month with the new moon in Gemini. This is on June the 15th. And this is about wishes and intentions that are aligned with the energy of heightened communication, new ideas, new connections, new possibilities. We will talk about this when we get there. I will be doing a new moon month energy update next month where we look at exactly the same again for the coming month. We will look at the flow of energy, we'll look at the way the moon is moving through the signs, and we will be looking at the void of course moons because the big ones are still continuing. So let's bring me back onto the screen for just one moment. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope the video will be of real help to you. I've been following the moon for years and years and years, and I have been astonished at the accuracy of the energy and how valuable it has been for me, and indeed I know for many others that I have worked with, to understand that ebb and flow and to be able to align themselves with the energy. You know, when things are running smoothly in our lives, we can absolutely harness the energy to work for us. If things are going a bit topsy-turvy or we're feeling quite unanchored, we'll know when the energy is going to shift and when it's going to change and how best to assist ourselves at any given moment. Thank you so much for joining me. If you are genuinely interested in manifesting with the moon, do check out my free webinar. It's there, it's available, you can watch it anytime, and it does mean you'll get the fundamentals of how to do this, how to work with the moon energy. And don't forget, if you're watching this as I upload it in a couple of days, we'll be meeting here on YouTube live and drawing cards together. So really looking forward to seeing some of you then. Tons and tons of love.